Welcome back, everybody, to your daily update on the state of the Malazan Empire. And this is the end of Memories of Ice. I just finished it roughly an hour ago, half an hour ago. I'm done with my crying. Yes, I did cry. I probably am not done with my reflections because who can ever be? But I'll try to, ramble a bit about it because also I have some other stuff to do later on today, so I'll better do it now. First, the quick update on the whole cape situation. It's growing, it's growing, it's growing. Yeah, we've reached the point where I can not really put it on here and show you how it looks because yeah, it's down. Yeah, even further down. It's getting somewhere. I feel like near the end of House of Chains, which I'll be starting either later tonight or tomorrow morning. We'll be ready to actually have a finished cape. And yes, I said yesterday that I have some ideas of how to do the whole neck cowl, whatever things. I'm still thinking on it, but I feel slightly confident it might actually work. So yeah, let's go to Memories of Ice. I have a new beer. It's an unfiltered one from Leikheim. I like those, no pun intended, rather well. So let's do this. Cheers. All right. You remember, like yesterday, I posed that question of whether Steven Erikson would be able to how to continue from that blow, that big blow of Whiskey Jack dying. Well, obviously I already knew because this is my third read through, but of course he knows how to actually keep punching from that point on. That's just, yeah, it remains really, really brutal. I'm not going to go too deeply into the military side of things because I don't know. I'm not an expert on military stuff, and I don't care so much for all the fighting. If you like, seriously, this is not exactly why I read Malazan for the combat sequences, although they're obviously done extremely well. We already knew that, right? Um, so yeah, what exactly is interesting and important around Memories of Ice? So one thing that I personally really enjoyed is like structure-wise. I mean, I know Steven Erikson has said somewhere that he has a rather elliptical writing style, and it works in a way. Like this time around, you see how prologue and epilogue aside, it sort of begins and ends with the same people. We end with meeting once again Monarch the artist in front of the Finnest house in Darustan, but still, we kind of end up with the guys with where it all started. We also end up obviously with Quickban bringing Panyan, the Panyan, not the seer, but the Jaghut and his sister down into Burns Warren to use Ontos Felak to slow down the infection of the Warrens and the infection of Burns' body. So we have that there. That's another really, really cool thing that happens there. Like, so the structure is really circular or elliptical or whatever you want to call it. And that is, you know, once again, for a novel that's like part of a different, like of a large sequence, that's just like all of that is well done. And once again, the actual end of the series, like the actual end of the novel, with the epilogue, with Daika showing up and starting to basically tell Deadhouse Gates, is also really cool and really well done because basically you could, at this point, go and read Deadhouse Gates after Memories of Ice without losing too much, I suspect. So that one's also really cool. And really, just like the whole idea of how those different novels of the series of that sequence are, when they take time, like they're like how they take place, sometimes at the same time, at least some of them, and how all of that still fluctuates, works together, is just amazingly well done. Plus, we now realize at the actual end that Deadhouse Gates, like the actual sort of the actual narrator of Deadhouse Gates, is Daika, giving his role as a historian a whole more weight than, previously apparent in a way. So I just really like that, because it obviously makes some things that happen in Deadhouse Gates, make us question that. Is Daika a reliable narrator? Is he? We don't know. And that kind of interpretation that you can put on that, because you can obviously also say, no, Deadhouse Gates is just is a novel written by an omniscient third person whatever narrator, or you accept that it's basically Daika's telling the story, or at least Daika telling the story of the chain of dogs. So yeah, cool stuff right there that you can think about even more if you want to. What else? I'm also circling around, I suspect, here. The Return of the Wolf Gods. And this is what I find so powerful about House of Chains of Gods, not about Memories of Ice, is we have all these gut punches, these emotional gut punches near the end. We have Whiskey Jack dying, Calor's betrayal. We have all this shit going down, but there's so many positives at the actual end, so many wrongs being righted, so many people actually getting something back. That's just high class, it's not it's a sad but fulfilling ending in a way. It's not just all cliffhanger, grimdark brutality. No, there's hope in there. There's a lot of hope in there. There's some more important hope in there. There's some others, like the small things, Onos Tulan deciding to give up the sword and no longer be the first sword of the Telani Mass. The Telani Mass actually getting, hope back. Actual hope, and not just oblivion, what they wanted, but actually getting hope back. That's great. The whole idea of the Panyan Seer being redeemable by actually giving him a way to redeem himself by doing what he is doing now for Burn and everyone involved, like every living being on the world, as a way to, for himself, redeem himself. And that's another thing that is really, really important there. Redemption is something of an ongoing topic in this series, I guess. Not I guess, but I know. And the thing there is, what he wants is to redeem himself, because some things like redemption, there's different ways of redemption. There's on the one hand, there is just like the redemption that doesn't need to be earned, because it's basically it's earned just by existence in a way. And then sometimes for a person to actually make peace with themselves, they need to, fight their own way out of this. And the seer obviously needs the latter part. And this is not like an outside choice. It's not like that some outside arbiter of justice has decided that the wrongs that the seer did while serving for the crippled god, or being twisted by the crippled god and killing all these hundreds of thousands of people in those brutal ways. The fact that he did, it's not that some outside arbiter has decided that he needs to work hard to redeem himself. No. This is what he decides. He is the master of his own redemption there. It's his choice. It's his choice that he needs to do something for himself to then accept redemption. In a way, the same that Kilava also needs to actually, work on stuff like that. Some redemption needs to be earned, but it's the person that is redeemed at the end that has, up to a certain point, their own redemption in their hands. They decide how to redeem themselves. And that's a very, very powerful thing right there. Like, really seriously powerful. Okay, what else did we talk about? Obviously, the whole return of the beast gods to the beast throne, the sending of the souls of the Tilani mass and all their memories and all of those things into that new realm, the beast realm, beast hold, whatever you want to call it at the end. That one is obviously very powerful. We now get another explanation for the title of the novel, Memories of Ice, like a quite literal one when we come to, and that's the interesting thing with the title Memories of Ice. There's two meanings to that. That's, on the one hand, it's like the memories of ice being the time, like remembering the time of ice, something that the Tilani must do, because obviously the war against the Jagad is basically them living through what we would call an ice age. It's a magical one, but still it's the same thing. So their memories are memories of ice, and then they come down as hail. So the memories are encapsulated in ice as well. So they are memories made of ice. So that's just well done in a way, is what I'm saying here. It's like, if I was like, I don't know, a 10th grader and would have to write some kind of essay for language classes or for literature classes, I would put this kind of thing in there and then waffle around about what it means. I'm not going to do that right today. I just wanted to point it out and say that that's just real well done. I just like to have all these facets in there. As well as the other thing there, that how much of it is actually the power of humans over gods. The relationship between humans, like mortals, and gods is once again extremely interesting there, because all of this would not have worked without actually human intervention in a way. So that's another big thing there. What else? I feel Silver Fox's character arc is also extremely good. Like the end of it, there's more to be said about Silver Fox, I suspect. I mean, I know that she appears in other novels. She appears in some of the Esselmont, like in at least one of the Esselmont novels. And I'm not sure if I want to talk about more of Silver Fox now, or like if I ever talk about those Esselmont novels as well. Let's just say that she is a very tragic character in a way. And I just love that image of her being basically those 4 souls bound into one. You have those different aspects. And this is just also like what Erikson did a lot within this book. He finds, and does a lot within this book, he finds very poignant images for human struggles. That's what I want to say. So, you have that situation where Tuck's bones are broken by the almost insane love and all of that of the Kachane Chamala matron. And you have that whole situation with Moonspawn reigning on Korlat, and the whole like heart of stone and back to life and back to stone again, stuff like that. But you also have, within Silver Fox, you have 4 different aspects of her personality, fighting, or sometimes working together, sometimes fighting. This is something I guess we all know far too well from our own personalities. Like a personality is rarely monolithic. It's usually different aspects, sometimes working together, sometimes fighting against each other, and this is struggling, and this is very much personified or made visible by the aspect that her soul is in fact Tattersail's soul, with her aspects of like loyalty and what else is part of her. Then you have the aspect of vengeance and strength of will of Nightchill. You have, on the other hand, you have the loyalty on trust and stuff like that from Beladan. You have the love and all of that of Silver Fox, the Rivi child in there. You have all of those different aspects that make up a human personality, and it's just made more obvious in this situation here. So that one's just pointing this out. I like the fact that Erikson does these kind of things that give you a point to jump off and philosophize and think and ramble around and stuff like that. So yeah, that one. It's really cool. Another thing I kind of forgot to talk about earlier on, Lady Envy is such a good personification of the trickster god within mythology. Like almost all mythologies have like trickster spirits, and at some point it's even said with her trickster glint in her eyes. Tuck remembering it, reminiscing at some point when he's almost dying. Anyway, and all of these trickster beings who are sort of good and sort of neutral and very, very much embodiments of chaos, but chaos in a positive way. It's like not the destruct, like they can also be destructive, but not the chaos within the Malazan world chaos kind of thing that is coming for the whole of darkness and all of that shit. No. I mean, they are chaotic. It's like they're pure anarchy in a way, or whatever they want. And like in one situation, Lady Envy is actually sad when she realizes that that Picker was actually saying, meaning something else, when Picker goes and says, like, it won't take long, because Picker realized that they're all going to be slaughtered. And Envy just doesn't understand that, and then she realizes, and then she's actually sad, and she heals those people. But then the next moment, she goes off and is just as likely to kill someone, and that's this whole idea of the trickster spirit. And Lady Envy is I feel like a very cool version of explaining that, for a lot of reasons. Once again, she's just a really cool like character in a way. In the way she's described and everything, in her theatrical, over the top manifestation, all of that. But yeah, it's just really done really well. And once again, this is one of those ideas from mythology that find their way within the Malazan world, and I just really appreciate that kind of thing. What else? The Once again, like the sense of closure that I have at the end of Memories of Ice is just extremely impressive, because yeah, you have all these people are dead, and it's terrible, and it's brutal, it's heartrending, but it's also gives you hope in a positive way. And that's something I once again felt today. It's like, that's the point. It's like you wouldn't think I would have to actually wipe away tears after reading this for the third time. And it still hits. All of it still hits. And it's every time it's something else. It's first time it's this, second time it's like another thing that I found interesting is the way the funeral in a way is described. Once again, it's this lack of over-the-top theatrics that makes the Malazan world, or the Malazan armies, so emotionally powerful. Remember that whole scene of handing out the uniforms in Deadhouse Gates? The way they go about their, like, the way they do, like, just stand to attention for the funeral, or to honor the dead, the bridge burners and Whiskey Jack, and that kind of thing is just it's the smallness of the gesture that gives it weight, is what I'm trying to say here. And that is just extremely well done once again. We see a new phase to Teichran, which I really appreciate, because I feel Teichran is getting, I don't know, the way he's often, like, he's shown to be at the beginning of Gardens of the Moon, is just a very small aspect of Teichran. He comes across as like an absolute asshole there. Now he's way different in a way, obviously. And I do appreciate that, because I think he's an underrated character within the Malazan world. He often feels to me more like this, and this might just also come from my impression from other books, from the Esselmont books, but Teichran feels like this. You're like completely like you. Teichran feels like a nerd. He's a uber powerful mage, But anything that has to do like human emotions and actual social interactions are not exactly his strength. To put it mildly, I mean, he sucks at those and he fucks those up all the time, and he sort of needs to concentrate on being a human being. He'd much rather do magic stuff and think about magic stuff. And I find that I have some sympathy for that, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, he gets, luckily, or interestingly enough, he gets to be a more positive character here at the end. And yeah, okay, we finally know that our Tanthos, the standard bearer, is Tei Shren. Although there were kind of hints to for that when if you picked up on it, like for example, during the first encounter, the Maibi realized that he's hiding something. There's something important about him. Apparently he's able to hide his magical aura, though. But on another situation, when tempers are sort of flaring, it's remarked on the fact that he's hiding his hands in his sleeves, like your typical magician, wizard kind of thing, to hide that he's probably preparing magic there if he actually needs to. So that there were hints in there. Just as there is this one short scene when Lady Envy walks, and that's another one that I kind of forgot to pick up on, the like remark on last video or video before that. The situation where Lady Envy goes through the forest, and comes down from the ice and goes and enters the forest, and Lana's Tog remarks that a large cat has walked through that forest. Yeah, that was probably Kelava on her way to the fortress. What else? What else to talk about? Of course, we need to talk about Corlat and Corlat's grief, and the scene when Orphantal sends her down. And what I found interesting about that is, in a way, her coming and going down to grieve for Whiskey Jack. It felt to me that Orphantal is doing that. That it gives the way he's phrasing that, just when he sends her down, gives it much more weight, because it feels like she, by becoming more human, by actually entering that relationship, that romance with Whiskey Jack, by actually opening her heart, she actually did something for the entirety of the Tist Andi, which the rest of them, with the possible exception of Anomander Rake, who we still don't understand, the others have more or less completely forgotten or were never able to do. And the fact that she actually did that, and that's why she also needs to go down and grieve, because Tist Andi can't grieve. We know that already, because we learned that they even don't even bury their dead on the on the battlefield, and the Rivi did that for them, because they don't care about that. Like grief, like as another emotion, there has been gone from Tist Andi existence for so long. Once again, there is this amazing video that Counselor of Moonspawn did on the depiction of depression within the Tist Andi. One of those things, definitely, I'm not an expert on that, but she is, so go watch her video. I'll link it below. The lack of emotion is one of those things that I associate with depression, or my experiences with depression, or people that have depression, suffer and struggle with depression. And her actually being able to develop emotions, or showing emotions again so openly, gives hope to the entirety of the Tist Andi. So they need to see that, and need to see her down there, and she needs to do these things not only for herself but also for the rest of the Tist Andi. So that's a small thing there on the side that I found also very interesting. All right. What else is there to talk about? Well, there's so much, isn't it? Oh, there's this like one thing about compassion. I'm kind of, because I'm an idiot. And I read it like 2 hours ago, and I'm no longer sure who said that. But the important thing about compassion, that long monologue about compassion, understanding compassion as a human thing, and that we as humans often think that compassion needs to be earned. And that is wrong. Compassion is always free. Compassion has to be free. That is one of those really, really, really important sentences that you just need to hammer into your brain as much as possible, both to understand the Malazan Book of the Fallen and just for general life advice, and to understand what it means to be human. So keep that in mind in there. This is really, really important. And I think I'll actually leave it at that. If I come up with some additional thoughts, I'll probably do another video on it. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow with the first video on House of Chains. And won't that be fun? There will be violence. I think I can already promise that there will be violence. And with those promises, I'll leave you until tomorrow. Until then, cheers.